These are the things we know to prevent you from speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speaking Moistly, our semi-regular show that we do on Tuesdays. With me, as usual, is Greg. How you doing, sir?
Where's your orange shirt, Mark? What the hell's going on?
Oh my gosh, you are wearing an orange shirt.
Where's your orange shirt?
I refuse to wear orange shirts any time of the year.
Okay, guys, I want everybody on this video, whatever platform, click the report button to report Mark for
Mass report.
residential school denialism.
I'm not playing this game.
He must be stopped
It's-
for not complying with the official narrative.
Why aren't you wearing the ribbon? Why aren't you wearing the ribbon?
Exactly.
Right?
Who does not want to wear the ribbon?
I was out yesterday and we went to, farms and things like that, or apple orchards and things. We've, in previous years, when we're out and just, among the public, right? I've noticed a lot of orange shirts. This year, very, very few on very young kids, parents, but not on the kids on the playground. Like there were a bunch of kids on, there's playgrounds and things. And I was looking and I noticed, I was like, that's a notable change from previous years. I think the magic spell is wearing off a little bit. People are sick and tired of being browbeaten for things they haven't done, right? Being held responsible for absolute nonsense. And so we're not going to play that game anymore.
I mean, it is, to be fair, like a really brand new thing that they've tried to make happen. Truth and Reconciliation Day, our national holiday, as it's always been. It's this is only like the third one.
Might even be fourth. I'm not sure if it's the third or the fourth, but
I think it's only the third.
It's new,
but,
and
yeah.
And Trudeau, it was so important that Trudeau went surfing on the first one, but it didn't take long. On my show, I predicted, and I talked about this today on my show too, but I predicted that they were going to try and phase out Thanksgiving because of Truth and Reconciliation Day. And today there was a tweet, and I don't know, I haven't called the company and to confirm or anything like that, but there's a guy saying my company, Saskatchewan Polytechnique, is forced us to take Monday off this past week and not getting Thanksgiving stat off. And I don't think they can do that. I don't think that's
that sounds
legal.
like a very unilateral thing for a company to do. Of like, hey, we're going to switch around the national holidays on you.
Yeah,
because these are our politics. Sorry, that's just the policy that we invented that supersedes the national holidays.
And anybody who complains is far right. So
that's correct. That's correct. I mean, that is. I made a video on it on Truth and Reconciliation Day, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to just rip the Band-Aid off here. It's kind of just anti-white, like it's not really. It's really just trying to normalize the resentment and hatred towards Canadians who have lived here or Canadians who want to feel good about their history, white or otherwise.
Yeah,
but,
I would agree that it gives license. Truth and Reconciliation Day is wrapping in that allows people to express things that are anti-white, I think. And I don't necessarily think like Truth and Reconciliation Day itself is anti-white, but I think that it encourages that kind of sentiment to be expressed. Sure. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I think that there's a distinction there. But it's important because Thanksgiving is about unity. Thanksgiving is about two different kinds of people, new from the old world or new world. I can't remember, whatever it is. The people from Europe coming to the new world and being taken care of by, First Nations people, and the camaraderie and the cooperation that grew out of that. That's a very unifying message. And they can't have that at the same time as they've got Truth and Reconciliation Day, because Truth and Reconciliation Day is about airing grievances. It's almost like Festivus, like air our grievances and have a fight around a pole. Like it's pretty crazy. Like that's not. And what really resonated with me about about your video was talking about how, oh my gosh, it just jumped out of my head. Was talking about how like if somebody wanted to, if a country wanted to actually address the grievances that were had by a population, doing Truth and Reconciliation Day is not what you would do. You would actually address the grievances of the population. You'd go open the Indian Act and you'd look at the actual issues there. You'd look at the inequality of some people getting lots and lots of money and some people not. You'd look at the water situation maybe and actually address that.
Right.
You wouldn't have photo ops and things, right? Like it's just so weird.
I feel like that any serious person, not even just conservatives, but like, liberals too, like we've seen this for a long time with especially left-wing politicians of commodifying a genuine issue, a genuine social issue, and then just turning it into this cheap plastic political football that really has nothing to do with actually solving the problem. Mm-hmm. You could do environmentalism and it's like, oh, climate change, and we're going to save the planet. And, maybe
by unilaterally taxing 2% of it.
When it comes to like, racism or black people, oh, we got BLM. And it's like that was used to fund the Democrat Party. Yep. And then this is another one. And I feel like this is almost like the, what's the word? A primordial one in Canada, where it's like, yeah, the Ottawa bubble gives a crap about Indigenous people. For anyone who's been paying attention, they have been the most used and abused political football in Canadian history. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to believe that, no, this time they're actually going to help this group of people. Well, that's why I kind of say, yeah, in a way, it's not directly about being anti-white, but in purpose, in function, in goal, if you're like sort of like a sort of tyrant or someone who wants to help the divide and conquer the country, I feel like that it's kind of the underlying the main purpose of pushing it.
Yeah, well, it's just one arrow in a quiver of things that the government is doing that's divisive, sure, that undermines our undermines the country. Yes.
I want to jump to something else, because you said that, in real life with real people, not a lot of orange shirts.
Yeah.
Are you seeing all this like insanity on Twitter though? Like so many people, residential school denialism, like I've seen everybody try to say these magic words, various different people. Mm-hmm. Trying to normalize this thing, and it's like, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's never going to happen. Stop trying to make residential school denialism happen.
This is bleeding into the free speech stuff. So like residential school denialism, which the whole premise is based on a lie anyway. They never found bodies. These were shadows found by ground penetrating radar that have never been backed up by any kind of digging anything up, any remains. Even like families, there's no families as far as I'm aware coming forward saying, these are the remains of our children. Nothing like that I've heard of to any degree. So it's based on a lie. It's a fallacy, right? Like at base. You know what I'm saying? So they're taking that and they're saying, if you point out that this is fake, if you point out that we don't have any evidence to back up these claims that we're making, that's denialism and illegal. Right? What else? When have they done that with other things in history? Let's not get into that can of worms. But like, it seems pretty crazy, right? Like that we're in a situation like that and we're supposed to be on the side of the people who want censorship. That's the expected result from this push. And I don't know that they're getting it. You know what I mean? Like on Twitter you are, but it seemed like bot responses, because I don't think people actually want their speech stifled in that way.
I mean, what they're trying to do is very aggressive, and they don't really have the propaganda to back it up. Like the propaganda started however many years ago with all the mass grave stuff. But that's not that much substantial evidence and propaganda to really sustain this myth that our history is fundamentally about genociding natives. Yeah. It really feels like they're just trying to ram a huge battering ram through like a tiny hole. It's like that's not going to fit in there. But because they have sort of this incentive and will to further demoralize the country and the old white stock of the country, and they have an incentive to further divide people and further censor people, they very kind of cynically, from an almost like United Nations sort of big picture agenda, they're like, well, we really got to weaponize the Indigenous thing. We got to use the Indigenous thing to make it in as an excuse to censor people and destroy Canadian pride and undermine nationalism.
It justifies.
They're doing that with other things as well, like what is it, UN drip?
Mhm.
where they're trying to like use indigenous issues to like justify usurping land
Yes.
from rightful owners of land in Canada.
The United
So-
Nations wants to be the administrators of the land on behalf of the First Nations people, so that the evil
It's-
white people can't do that anymore.
It's so ironic, right?
Very
All these
interesting.
huge international globalists who are in Davos are like, yeah, let's speak for the indigenous people.
Yeah,
And once again, you're using them as a crowbar
yeah,
to
right.
get what
And
you want.
to say, oh, on behalf of these people who might be offended, on behalf of these people who might not want these other people who are administering the country currently to administer the country because of how mean they were, we'll do it instead. Like, oh,
And-
okay.
And just to say it out loud, like, we're making their job hard. People like us who are like, have two brain cells to rub together are like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
To be fair, I
yeah.
resisted using OBS for a long, long time. For like the two brain cells, I could see the political shenanigans, but putting together the show, it took a lot longer.
You resisted using OBS,
Yeah, people were telling me I should use OBS.
the streaming platform.
Yeah, no, not the streaming platform. Just, I mean, yes, the streaming platform, but I only use it to record. Like I'm recording this now, and I was thinking like two brain cells to rub together. It's not even that hard to put something like this together. You know what I mean? Like it's just you and me on a Google Meet, chatting away about how crazy this whole thing that we're supposed to believe is, and like, hey, like the basic underlying premise is we don't believe it. I don't believe
Yet
it.
the RCMP and CISA still need to have the resources to fund at least one person to watch programs like this. It's
Yes,
crazy.
at least, and I mean, they probably love it though. They're probably like, oh, I hope Mark and Greg. Put
You
out a
guys
new
are getting
show.
paid? What?
We don't even get paid.
Yeah.
I was going to say back where what you were saying, you feel like it's a big battering ram that they're trying to kind of shove down our throats. I view it in a very different way, kind of a more sinister way. Chinese water torture, where it's like drip, 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 drip. And you're like, oh my God, it's going to drill a hole in my head. And I think it does eventually. I think it's like what they're trying to do is not battering ram us. I think they're trying to, like water in a crack in wintertime and freeze and thaw and freeze and thaw. Eventually it breaks down. And I think that that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to overwhelm us. 10 years of talking about truth and reconciliation, 10 years of every single opposition leader celebrating truth and reconciliation and saying, you're not doing it right. 10 years of all that normalizes the Truth and Reconciliation Day. And then when people with two brain cells to rub together go, why do we do Truth and Reconciliation Day and Thanksgiving? Aren't these two things incompatible? Nobody's going to stand up and say, Thanksgiving's a real important part of our culture. Everybody's going to be afraid to stand up and articulate that. Where's Doug Ford saying no messing with Thanksgiving stat holidays act? Where's Danielle Smith with that? You know what I mean? Like, where's Scott Moe with that? If this guy who's saying that Saskatchewan Polytechnique is changing their stat holidays, like, if I was Scott Moe, I'd be riding in on a white horse at this point in time.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think you're absolutely right, but I think like the culture is starting to change here in Canada. For the very first time, there's people who are like, being anti-immigration is becoming a popular sort of sentiment, which is totally putting in flux or kind of questioning the entire past 9 years of Trudeau's
past 30. But yes, I hear you. Yeah.
But it's really been the being a progressive friendly person, being a progressive person, it has been really mainstreamed and hammered into a lot of the country with Trudeau, and now a lot of that is kind of up in the air with when you see Uber Eats drivers who are East Indians spitting in people's drinks, and people who have always been progressive and always been as far left leaning and always been as empathetic as possible are like, these people got to go back. Like that's kind of put a wrench in the plans of these globalists who champion Justin Trudeau when the truth of the matter is kind of coming out.
So like this is the hard part of the conversation though, because what's his face? Trump is talking about how they're going to engage in the biggest mass deportation thing. Austria, their right-wing party just won, and if you read a whole bunch. The opposition parties are trying to do everything they can to stop them from taking power and starting to deport people, because they won on a re-immigration. I don't know if you say remigration.
Remigration, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I'm bad with words. And so like there's all these pockets of places, but the practical side of that is a politician or two or three are going to have to stand up and say, we are going to send these people back. And then those people are going to start targeting that politician. And it gets messy then. You know what I mean? And the practical, how do you do this? How do you reasonably actively do this? And it's economic.
Who's going to start targeting the politician?
The people that the politician was formally promising amnesty, permanent residency, and as long as they gave them the vote. They're going to, I mean, if the wind is blowing the way you're saying, and people are getting done and saying they've got to go back, right? And the politician's career and continued electoral life depends on them being elected, and the electorate wants the people gone, then the politicians who start talking about deporting these people are going to become the targets, right? And I'm not saying like for violence or anything like that, but there's going to be that rhetoric of, you don't support us, we're not going to support you. It's going to blow up. It's going to be the new conversation of, what do we do with all these people? The far right says we should deport them, and that's gaining steam, and that's very dangerous. Like the media is going to use that, all sorts of other stuff, and it's a division. It's a way to divide, and the time it takes benefits. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If you celebrate Truth and Reconciliation Day, every time you do it, every year that goes by that you do it, you lose ground, right? So every year that goes by that we're not normalizing Canadian values and making sure those are prioritized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and allowing the division to continue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we're not able to do mass deportations in an efficient timeline, how do you propose we do it in an efficient timeline? How do you propose? And I mean, like, I'm not looking for a point by point plan or anything like that, but do you think that's possible? Do you think that? I think practically it's just more messy than these people need to go back. I think it's more messy than that. And in real life, it plays out more messy than that. It does.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, my only point was, it's becoming a sentiment. It's becoming a thought that more Canadians are having, and it's not being spat out as disgusting and racist. As for a long time,
it was. Yep.
That has been the popular belief of like, oh no, we love immigrants, we love all the immigrants. Like, how dare you question that purple guy, that Maxime guy is just a vile, horrible person. And I guess my only point is that sentiment is starting to change. I totally agree with you. The future is going to be messy. We are waking up to the sobering reality of a truly multicultural Canada. And guess what? A lot of tribes are out for themselves. Turns out. Yep. Turns out. To oversimplify, maybe a lot of white Canadians, we're so thoughtful. Did we mess up? Was it our problem? I'm sorry. It was someone from our team, like our tribe, like bad. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. We're going to try to make this place as comforting and as welcoming as possible. And now we're realizing that the other groups don't really give us the same sort of grace at all. Spitting in our drinks, for example, or Wilfu being like, yeah, like we're colonizing you guys, or yeah, there was taking over institutions in Canada, not thinking twice about it, giving our jobs away to people who look like us, not thinking twice about it. And I know I've brought this up on the show before. We've gone into this whole conversation, but it's it's with every passing day, every passing week, it's like you sorry folks, but like you can't really ignore the tribal reality that we are now in here in Canada. And unfortunately, I would argue that white Canadians are like the only tribe that is like so not primed to like advocate for itself.
Well, I would agree with you there. I think that it's like on one side of things,
because it's racist Nazi Hitlerism.
Right. No, but it like
the worst thing ever.
On one side of things, if you just zoom in on the trucking industry,
I have an orange shirt on. Okay, so
protected, 100 protected.
Allowed to say all this.
This is happening after Orange Shirt Day. It's October 1st. Damn it. But if you look,
I just care so much. That's why I'm still wearing it. Anyway,
I started wearing it yesterday.
I haven't taken it off. I haven't even slept. I'm so
That's
passionate about this truth and reconciliation.
But if you zoom in on one industry, right? If you zoom in on the trucking industry or something to that effect, and like I think that all people want in Canada anyway, or like all I want from society is a fair shake, right? And I know you're laughing at me because you're
just
like, life's not
you just
there,
want to
man.
grill. You're a family man. You just want to be able to barbecue.
I want to
on
make bad
weekends and have a
Yeah.
you know let your kids grow up unmolested by all sorts of crazy, scary stuff.
Yeah, man. Right. Yeah. I want to make dad jokes. I want to wear like kiss the chef, right? Like an apron. And
For those watching, this is all code for sexist, racist, misogynist, far right, by the way.
Right. Of course. But it's funny because it seems very reasonable. And I feel like what people, and like, I think other people think like me. So all I want is to be left alone, to raise my family in a secure place where you're not going to get kidnapped if you go out to the bank at 9:00 at night for whatever, if you need cash or something like that. You can. Is
that too much to ask?
Like, I don't think that
kidnapped?
Right. Like well, there are places where you need like security teams to drive from city to city. You don't stop. And like, people tell you like, this is a scary place. You don't do this. And like, we've been bringing in people indiscriminately from all around the world. And like the United States has, Canada has, everybody's just had borders that are porous, people pouring over. And so like, I know the danger exists in the world. I know that like in Iraq, they've got entire cities behind massive, massive walls, because if they don't, improvised explosive devices get placed and people get killed. Like, and so like, I don't want to live in a society where, if I'm not the right religion, then I don't get preferential treatment, or I don't get served or something like that. If I'm not the right skin color, then I might be a target for a violent attack. If I'm somewhere, if I express something that other people don't agree with, then I might be violently attacked.
What's your vaccine status?
Right. Exactly. Right. I didn't grow up in a country like that. And I think that it's scary that we're moving into a country like that. And it's not the fault of the people who are immigrating here necessarily in the right way, but the culture is being changed from the top down, from some kind of order that has been given out to stop prioritizing Canadian culture, destroy it, watch the churches burn, pull the statues down, remove the language, flood every country or flood every city, no matter how big or small, with migrants or people being flown in. And so like, that's an attack. And I feel like we're under attack. And again, I don't think that what I'm asking for is a bridge too far. It's going back less than 10 years, right? And still, it seems like it's too much to ask. We don't exist in that world anymore. And that's a crazy thing to contemplate. Mm-hmm. Like the damage done.
Fast forward 10 years, we're going to play that clip in court, and the judge or the lawyer will be like, "You see, this person's a completely vile extremist. You heard all of those talking points, which we've been programmed to believe are the worst of the worst things, wanting to take care of his family. He mentioned Canadian pride. That's horrible." I'm kidding, of course. But I think that's a beautiful sentiment. And I think a lot of people would agree with you. I think that's like the most, I mean, would that be moderate? I think that's almost just like a very sort of like fair center, people.
You don't want to get kidnapped?
However, what I want, because I know we have to wrap it up soon, what I want to see is, I wish we could just move things along quicker. I'm not like an accelerationist, but we know what happens based on what we're seeing across Europe. What we've seen across Europe over the past, several years is that things get bad. The right-wing party, the mainstream right-wing party, says they're going to fix everything. They get elected, and then they don't, and then the far-right parties prop up, and now they are starting to get voted in. We're in that section right now where things are bad, and we're like, the mainstream conservative party will save us. But like, we already know by looking at Europe that it's like
It's
they're
not
not.
gonna
They're
happen.
going to be the ones that screw us over even more.
Yep.
And I wish we could just skip that step. I wish we could just skip the
That's
step.
part of
and
the
go
game.
Straight to the.
That's part of the manipulation. I
Yeah,
agree with you.
but we have a crystal ball called Europe that we could look at and say, wow, oh, okay, that seems actually quite consistent against every Western country. Okay, maybe
Yep.
we should just skip straight to this part
We should
instead of going through this whole
see
part.
the only now. Remind me that there's that video I sent you earlier of that former German leader talking about that. He outlines the two-party system. He outlines the back and forth.
Former German leader.
I don't want to trigger the algorithm. I just don't want to trigger the algorithm. It's going on the
More
YouTube.
specific?
It's just going on the YouTube. You understand what I'm saying?
AI translated speech. What are you talking about?
Right?
bro?
But he talks about exactly this, exactly the providing the solution for people who get sick and tired of one governor, like one group of people leading the country. You provide the other group of people to lead the country, and that other group of people is going to do exactly the same thing that the first group of people did. They're just a different flavor. It's just a different look. It's exactly the same thing. And it's been a problem then in the 1940s, and it's a problem. I mean, I'm sure it was a problem in the 1960s. I'm sure it was a problem in the 1980s, and it's still a problem today, and we're still not addressing the root cause of it. And I've said before, if you actually start addressing the root cause of it, like they'd start an entire world war to shut you down. They would isolate you, they would try and bankrupt you, and then they will try and effing well kill you, and they will use all of their assets to do it.
I completely disavow everything Mark's just said. I have no idea
Maybe
what
we
he's
should
talking
leave it there.
about, where any of this has come from.
Who knows?
I completely disassociate. I regret all the speaking. I'm kidding. But no, I should probably take a listen to that speech.
You
of
should.
This,
It's
this
worthwhile.
former leader from Deutschland. It's interesting.
It's worthwhile.
Interesting.
History.
Was he
provides-
from the 50s or before that?
I think I'll have to double check the clip. I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right. That's enough out of us. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you the next time we randomly decide to do this.
Thanks.